Since the dawn of the MCU, Loki has persistently asserted his pursuit of glorious purpose, wrestling with the uncertainty surrounding his genuine calling. Aptly titled the Season 2 finale, Glorious Purpose not only brings this chapter to a close but could potentially serve as the magnum opus for the entire series. It unravels the trajectory of the Asgardian god, delving into his journey through the intricacies of the temporal loom, and illuminates his newfound comprehension of temporal-slipping abilities. Let's delve into the unfolding events of Loki Season 2 and explore its culmination. Loki broke the veil. In the 5th episode of Season 2, Loki unraveled the connection between his time-slipping ability and the individuals he sought to encounter. This newfound understanding empowered him to wield his temporal powers deliberately, seamlessly traversing between timelines with precision. He journeyed back to a time before the temporal loom wreaked havoc in the TVA. Guided by OB, Loki recognized the urgency of accelerating their efforts to mend the temporal loom before Victor Timely faced destruction. Despite numerous attempts to hasten the process by leaping through time, Timely succumbed to the radiation repeatedly. Loki found himself repeatedly retracing his steps to the moment he reintroduced Timely to the TVA. Determined to expedite the preparation of the throughput multiplier, Loki dedicated centuries to time travel, absorbing every detail about the temporal loom and the throughput multiplier from OB and Timely. He transformed into an expert on the subject through centuries of delving into the past. Ultimately, Loki and his allies achieved success in hastening the entire process, allowing Timely to rectify the temporal loom using the throughput multiplier to enhance its capacity. However, the celebration was short-lived as Obi discovered that the loom was still overloading. In a surprising revelation, Timely concluded that infinite timeline and universes were emerging, overwhelming the loom and rendering it incapable of handling infinite possibilities. The loom was never all that important for the multiverse. It was a fail-safe. With the heavy sense of defeat weighing on him, Loki retraces his steps to the moment when he and Sylvie confront He Who Remains at the conclusion of Season 1. Desperate to comprehend the unfolding events, Loki endeavors to persuade Sylvie to pause and engage in a dialogue with the He Who Remains. However, Sylvie stoutly maintains that the only way to prevent her is to end her life, seemingly making resolution impossible. As the tension heightens, He Who Remains intervenes, halting the events to reveal that he foresaw every detail and even hints that he orchestrated Loki's acquisition of the power to navigate through time and space at will. He discloses to Loki that the only salvation lies in a choice between killing Sylvie and dismantling the temporal loom. Contrary to its apparent purpose, the loom was not designed to regulate timelines but served as a failsafe intended to obliterate everything except the sacred timeline. In essence, the loom wasn't the core of the TVA, it was He Who Remains' contingency plan. He crafted a closed loop, ensuring his reincarnation repeatedly. Sylvie's act of killing him would result in multiple timelines emerging, annihilating branches, and preserving only the sacred timeline. This cyclical process allowed He Who Remains to regain power consistently, validating his earlier statement to Sylvie in Season 1 about encountering her again. Loki is forced to make a difficult choice. Loki is now confronted with the weight of two choices: either dismantling the loom or ending Sylvie's life. The former would unleash multiple timelines, triggering a multiversal conflict and heralding the return of He Who Remains. On the other hand, killing Sylvie would ensure He Who Remains' continued reign. In essence, Loki realizes that He Who Remains' resurgence seems inevitable, regardless of the chosen path. Returning to a pivotal moment where Mobius seeks to recruit him into the TVA, Loki engages in a conversation with Mobius about the nature of burdens. Mobius shares a personal anecdote about a past decision that has haunted him, emphasizing the enduring weight of tough choices. Implicitly, Mobius urges Loki to bear the burden of the challenging decision that lies ahead. Returning to Ad-Daw's lab, Loki educates Sylvie about his newly acquired time-manipulating ability. Freezing time, he discloses the unsettling possibility of having to bring her life to an end. Sylvie, in a selfless gesture, defers the decision to Loki, underscoring his authority in charting their path forward. In a poignant exchange, Sylvie recounts her lived experiences across numerous apocalyptic timelines, where individuals displayed a readiness to sacrifice for a brighter future. This disclosure crystallizes for Loki the profound realization of what he must do in the midst of this formidable choice. Loki makes the right choice. Opting against terminating Sylvie's life, Loki revisits the pivotal moment preceding the loom's havoc at the TVA. Rather than allowing Timely to depart, Loki descends to the loom, ensuring its secure sealing behind him. Affirming his newfound understanding of the god he must become, Loki embarks on a transformative odyssey. Cloaked in regal attire, Loki advances through the gangway, dismantling the temporal loom and triggering a sudden proliferation of diverse timelines. Harnessing his powers, he seizes control of these timelines, annihilating each one. Obi witnesses the diminishing branches, and Loki, stepping into a portal to the end of time, encounters yet more burgeoning branches. Assuming the seat once occupied by He Who Remains, Loki seizes command of the diverse timelines evolving into the new temporal loom. Essentially, he eradicated the old loom to pave the way for a superior one, utilizing his godly abilities to regulate the multiverse's various timelines. In essence, Loki ingeniously dismantled He Who Remains loop, now taking on the responsibility of overseeing the timelines. He embraces a glorious purpose, comprehending the nature of burden and the imperative actions required for the greater good. What happens to the TVA and the multiverse? After Loki's sacrificial act, the TVA seamlessly reverted to its customary operations, where analysts and agents meticulously monitored the myriad timelines. Mobius discusses the persistent unawareness of Kang variants concerning the TVA, highlighting a minor disturbance caused by one of them in Earth 616, a reference to the events in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Heading to the war room with B-15 to strategize future plans, Mobius shares with his friend his decision to depart from the TVA. He expresses a yearning to experience his life within the sacred timeline, gaining a deeper understanding of what he has safeguarded for years. B-15, comprehending his perspective, proceeds to the war room to join the other leaders of the TVA. In a reflective moment, Mobius contemplates his variant's existence on the sacred timeline. Accompanied by Sylvie, they exchange reflections on the absence of Loki and express optimism for the unfolding situation, recognizing Loki's imperative to fulfill his destiny. The series concludes with Loki seated on his throne, presiding over the diverse timelines of the multiverse at the end of time. He has evolved into a genuine god, the exclusive arbiter of the multiverse. This is the glorious purpose that has weighed on him since his inception.